Welcome and settle in. Imagine yourself drifting over a wide, pale landscape where the ground holds the memory of winter. The light is low, the air is dry and quiet, and beneath your feet, the earth is not only soil and stone, but a patient archive of cold. Tonight we will trace the slow, boring collapse of permafrost, not as a catastrophe, but as a gentle story of ice and time, of ground that loosens its grip very gradually. If this calm journey helps you unwind, please tap like and subscribe, and let the playlist in the description carry you softly from a once sleepy science story to the next. How sleepy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You might imagine yourself walking along a mossy tundra path. The moss feels springy, as if padding your steps with a soft rhythm. The air smells faintly of lichen and dry grasses. Somewhere in the quiet distance, a small stream moves slowly, almost whispering. This is a good place to begin. Permafrost, by definition, is ground that stays at or below freezing for at least 2 consecutive years. It can be gravel, clay, peat, or bedrock. It can be rich in ice or almost dry. What makes it permafrost is not the presence of ice, but the temperature over time. Near the surface, there is an active layer, a shallow skin that thaws each summer and refreezes each winter, breathing in slow motion with the seasons. Beneath it lies the older, cold, steady, and restrained, tied to winters that extend far back into memory. Imagine kneeling to look closely at the soil. There are tiny crystals of segregated ice forming lenses between grains, almost like sheets of glass hidden in the ground. Over many seasons, those lenses lift and shift the soil, a patient dance called frost heave. Shrubs tilt a little. Slender birches lean, relaxed and unhurried. The ground organizes itself into patterns, polygons edged with subtle ridges like a quilt sewn by freezing and thawing. In winter, surface cracks open as the topsoil contracts in the cold. In spring, meltwater trickles in and freezes, building wedge-shaped veins of pure ice. With years upon years of repetition, the wedges widen, and on a calm afternoon you could trace their outlines with your fingertips, feeling the soft rise where a long seam of ice lies beneath. Permafrost remembers centuries. Much of it formed when colder climates dominated, especially during the last glacial period, when winds blew fine silt across the north and plants captured carbon in slow-growing mats. In some places, thick deposits called yedoma built up, rich in organic matter that never fully decomposed, gently tucked away by the cold. When this frozen archive begins to warm, it does not vanish in an instant. It relaxes, ice lenses melt. The ground subsides a little, like bread, cooling after it leaves the oven. Low basins collect water and become shallow ponds. This quiet reshaping is called thermokarst, and it unfolds with small sounds and patient shifts, the landscape exhaling as it settles. Heat moves into the earth in a measured way. Summer sun softens the surface, and the active layer deepens by a finger's width, then a hand's width, then more. Snow, which looks cold from a distance, insulates like a blanket, keeping the ground underneath a little warmer through winter nights. Dark shrubs spread across light tundra, catching more sunlight and storing it like a muted heartbeat. Beneath, the latent heat of melting ice acts as a buffer. Before the temperature can rise, ice must absorb energy to change phase. So the ground lingers around freezing as it uses that energy, quietly, in silence, to become a little less rigid. The process is slow and stubborn, and that slowness is its character. When permafrost thaws, microbial life warms and stirs. Imagine countless tiny workers, each one a cell, waking from a cooler sleep. In spots that remain well-drained and oxygenated, they breathe and convert old plant fragments into carbon dioxide. Where water pools and oxygen is scarce, other microbial communities take over, forming methane as they go about their simple routines. Tiny bubbles gather beneath thin lake ice and drift upward in calm columns. Some methane is consumed by still other microbes near the surface or at lake edges. Some escapes to the air in small puffs. When the water ripples, everything feels small and steady, the gentle rhythm of a long-delayed meal being finished. All of this belongs to a century-long wake-up call, not a sudden alarm. Even if the surface climate were to stabilize, the warmth that has already arrived continues to seep downward, inch by inch, led by the slow mathematics of heat conduction. The results accumulate over decades and beyond. Lakes form and sometimes drain as hidden ice wedges melt and old channels reappear. Hills slump into low amphitheaters. New streams find new paths, carving soft curves along the easiest routes. The ground settles, then settles again, never hurrying, always guided by temperature, water, and gravity, collaborating in a long, hushed conversation. People who live on permafrost learn to read these quiet changes. Houses rest on piles anchored into colder ground, lifting living spaces above the soil, so heat from indoors does not slowly warm the foundation. Some piles house passive devices called thermosiphons, simple tubes that draw heat upward in winter and release it to cold air, like gentle chimneys for warmth. Roads and runways sit on layers of gravel that drain water away, so that ice has fewer chances to grow and shrink. Pipelines cross on supports that glide a little to accommodate motion, moving as calmly as a reed in a pond. When the ground subsides and tilts, a deck might lean slightly, then be adjusted, inch by inch, with quiet care and patience. Above the ground, vegetation changes in soft gradients. Dwarf shrubs expand where the season is a little longer and the soil a little warmer. Willows and alders take root along to stream banks, adding shade and catching drifting snow in winter. The trap of snow deepens and smooths the land's temperature swings, just as a thick quilt keeps your bed even. Dark leaves lower reflectivity, so sunlight sinks into the surface and lingers, reinforcing warmth. In peat-rich hollows, saturated moss blankets widen, storing water and cushioning footsteps with a muted bounce. Each patch of color on the tundra is a small adjustment in a vast, slow mosaic. Scientists listen to the ground in many ways. In quiet cabins and container labs, thermistor strings record temperatures in boreholes, each sensor noting a number every hour, every day, plotting lines that drift gently upward. Across the Arctic, long transects marked by simple stakes measure the depth of the active layer year after year. A ruler pressed into the earth with unassuming discipline, satellites pass overhead, their radar pulses moving like soft pulses of light, measuring millimeters of subsidence over broad areas. Some towers watch the air, sensing the small swells and ebbs of carbon dioxide and methane as winds comb the landscape, producing curves that rise and fall like a sleeping breath. Still awake? Comment the secret word nebula. If you like, imagine setting up a small camp for the evening. You unroll a sleeping pad on a patch of dry moss. The sun moves low around the horizon, unhurried, painting the world in gentle amber. A kettle murmurs on a tiny stove, steam drifting like a ribbon. Around you, the ground is still, but not motionless. Far beneath the pad, the active layer holds the warmth of the long day, and beneath that, the permafrost waits, cold yet listening, responding to the season with immensity and restraint. The quiet of the landscape is not empty. It is filled with slow work, imperceptible to the eyes in a single hour, evident only through patient return. Some permafrost holds vast stores of ancient carbon. It is not a treasure chest to open, nor a trap to spring, but a pantry of old plant fragments, each one a sliver of a summer long gone. Over centuries, as warmth reaches deeper, some of that pantry is cleaned out by microbes and moved to the air as carbon dioxide or methane. Some dissolves into waters that flow softly through peat and then to rivers and onward to the sea. Along the way, sunlight bleaches and breaks complex molecules into simpler forms in a process called photodegradation. Aquatic microbes finish their quiet task downstream. Everything moves, but with the pace of a drifting cloud. Where ice wedges melt, the ground sometimes lowers into gentle troughs, shaping polygonal fields that capture snow in winter and water in spring. Where thick bodies of ground ice thaw, the land may give way to rounded pits and shallow lakes that dot the landscape like scattered mirrors. Over time, some of these lakes drain through hidden channels, leaving wet meadows behind. In other places, uplifted mounds form where ice grows and pushes soil upward, called palsas or pingos. And when they thaw, they collapse into small rings and hollows, the record of a rise and a fall preserved in a calm line. Thermal inertia keeps the story unhurried. Frozen ground stores cold the way a heavy stone stores coolness in summer shade. To change it, warmth must first fill the pores, then pass the threshold of melting, then keep going. That is why decisions made in one decade echo a century later. The shape of that echo is complicated with differences between sandy soils and clay, between wet peat and gravelly slopes, between shaded valleys and sunlit plains. But the rhythm is consistent. The gentle rhythm continues. Heat bridges each winter to the next, as water seeks the same low places, as microbes wait and then wake. In a small town on the edge of the tundra, a road crew's work might sound like a faint rumble at midday, then silence at night. They add gravel here, reroute a culvert there, lift a porch by a few centimeters, and then rest. It is the same patient approach you might take to caring for a garden path that sinks a little after rain. The ground is not an enemy, but a partner with a long memory. If you align with its memory, it supports you with steadiness. If you ignore it, it reminds you, slowly, persistently, in a way you cannot miss, but never in a rush. Farther north, beyond any roads, caribou cross open country on paths their hooves remember. Over decades, Some paths grow damp and wide as the season shifts, others dry out. The animals adjust, taking new lines with the same calm persistence. Birds nest where sedges are thick. Foxes watch the edges of ponds where fish now flash in shallow water. Even the mosquitoes, insistent in one week, are gone in the next, leaving a deeper quiet behind. The land breathes through these changes in long, measured sighs. To understand such changes, scientists and local observers combine notes. A hunter remembers when a lake first started to drain. A satellite captures a new channel forming. A borehole shows a subtle warming trend. A hydrologist measures a stream's chemistry and tastes the faint tang of dissolved organic carbon carried from peat. Each piece is accurate in its own calm way. Together, they form a picture of a landscape that is steady in its restlessness, tidy and untidy at once, reorganizing itself into a new arrangement that still supports moss, water, wind, and the quiet padding of your imagination. If you listen closely now, you might hear only your own breath, slow and even. Imagine yourself resting in a small, warm shelter, the outside air clear and gentle. The walls do not make a sound, and the floor beneath is patient. You can feel the way time stretches out here, into next week, next season, next century, without hurry. The slow collapse of permafrost is not a sudden falling. It is a long softening, a careful unfolding, a reminder that the ground is alive with processes that prefer to move at the speed of seasons. The wake-up call is simply this awareness, arriving not with noise, but with a quiet tapping at the edge of your attention. You can let that awareness rest, let the details blur just a little, like frost melting on a window in morning light. Remember the ice wedges, the mossy spring underfoot, the tilt of a birch leaning just enough to catch your eye. Remember the steady instruments in their small huts, lines on charts making gentle slopes, numbers that mean warmth flowing slowly downward. Remember the people who watch and care, who lift a beam here and straighten a step there, aligning with the land's relaxed pace. The gentle rhythm continues, and you can float on it as you breathe. Now, as you prepare to drift off, know that you are safe and unhurried. The room is your quiet tundra. The blanket is your soft snow. Your pillow remembers your shape, the way the land remembers winter. If this peaceful walk through patient earth helped you, you can leave a like and subscribe so we can keep sending these calm stories into the night. And feel free to use the playlist link in the description to glide into the next gentle chapter. Rest well, and let the slow, steady ground of sleep hold you with the same calm strength